Welcome to the No More Meds podcast with Dr. Corinne Weaver. Are you stressed out because you keep getting sick and don't know what steps to take? Are you sick of not getting answers from your doctor and always needing to take drugs? How would your life be different if you were healthy? Be inspired and stay tuned for some practical solutions for healthy living.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the No More Meds podcast. I have a special guest today, and her name is Janell Adams. I am so excited that she is with us today to share her story about her daughter. She has been in education for over 10 years, and she knows her stuff. You know, not only does she go to regular school and get the university, she had to learn more, right? You had to get back and get your master's degree, and she has a passion for learning and helping children and helping kids in math. I think that's your specialty, is math.
Specialty. Yes.
And you have just one daughter, is that correct?
Just one daughter.
Just one daughter. And so tell us Parker's story of the beginning of, I guess when did you graduate school, and why did you decide to get into teaching others? Because you weren't doing accounting, right? Weren't you going to do some accounting?
I was.
And you had a shift, you had a shift from accounting, and now you wanted to teach. So tell us a little bit about that shift and how that's made a difference for Parker and her journey and how she's learned.
So I started, actually got my business degree, but always had that passion for teaching. Always did like the summer camp Y, and always, my part-time jobs through college. I always worked at, after school programs and different things like that. And so I just love learning. And I think also a part of that love for learning and kind of wanting to share that with other students is kind of my story too, and how I struggled through school. And that kind of also stems from my passion of wanting to teach others and have that excitement and to find that passion in other kids so that anybody can do anything. I was in the 11th. My parents got me tested. I always wanted to go to college. It wasn't a doubt whether I was going to go to college or not. But as a teenager, I just was scared to go to college because I knew that I was smart, but just wasn't. There was something off. And so my mom got me tested, and I was on a fourth grade reading level in the 11th grade. And
Wow.
So I went, although I had always had A's and B's, I struggled. I worked really, really hard. But I always felt like education was the way for me to progress, and for the way for me to, for anybody to things that you want in life, and the education, I just felt like that was the way to go. So that was, I think, a biggest part of my wanting to go into education is kind of my story, that I made it, and now I am sitting here with bachelor's, a minor, 2 master's degrees, and, from where I came from and how hard I work. Is it easy? No. And so I think that kind of stemmed to Parker. So I had Parker later in life, and I always knew, even as a toddler, she was so extremely verbal, so smart, but there were things that, like her letter, her name was on her door, and she could spell her name at 18 months. She could regurgitate it back to me, but if she saw it in her room every single day, she couldn't tell me that was a P. She couldn't tell me that was an A. She couldn't tell me it was R. She couldn't tell me what the letters in her name was. And so Parker didn't know all her letters until she was probably in kindergarten, by recognition. She could spell words. She could sound out words like nobody's business. It's amazing verbally what she can do. But to see it, she doesn't recognize them, or it's not consistent. She's like any ADHD kid. She is not consistent, right?
Right.
And then also the other thing with Parker is that she was going to preschool. We did mother morning out programs with her, and she would always say that I'm not good at school. That's when it hurt my heart, right? Mm-hmm. That my 4-year-old and everybody would say, oh my God, she's so smart. She's very articulate. I mean, at 18 months, we were having full blown conversations. And she comprehends so much, if you speak it to her, but if she has reading is a struggle for her. So she started kindergarten, and because things are it's a very different shift coming from pre-K and going into a structured classroom.
Oh yeah, right.
And she struggled.
Mm-hmm.
And she struggled because she is a verbal learner. They're trying to teach her how to read. They thought she was a behavioral problem. Because she would shut down and say, she'd be talking all day long and she could have a conversation. But then when it came to having to read something that wasn't read to her, if they said, Parker, do you recognize that B or that A or whatever? She would, get sassy. And I don't want to do it.
Right. Show a little attitude, right?
Show a little attitude. And so that's what we were getting. We kept getting these, Parker's being, and then so she shuts down. And so I guess too I started seeing, you just know as a parent, like there's something different.
Right.
There's something not right. And even, not to let my story be her story. I was really fighting that internally, and just trying to make sure that I didn't put my fears of, not being able to read on her.
Mm-hmm.
Was a struggle with me too. But genes are strong. And, so finally, I went and I said, I have to get it in first grade, struggle again. And I finally just broke down and started telling. I was also a little embarrassed. I'm an educator. My daughter's supposed to be really smart. Right.
Right.
And so many, it's just, I don't know. It's just probably not what I should have been doing. But then I started telling people my story and saying, I'm struggling with Parker, but I know there's something wrong. And I'm more secondary math. So trying to educate a kindergartner is not my thing.
Right. Yeah. I get you.
So,
I could totally relate to your story as well. And that was the whole reason why I got neurofeedback. And I don't know if you know why I started introducing neurofeedback in my office was my daughter. Actually, opposite of what Parker was struggling with, she was really good seeing things.
Okay.
But verbally, she was not there. So she could read and write, and it was beautiful, but she could not verbally talk. So when she needed to verbally talk, that's when we would have major breakdowns. So we went to speech therapists and tried to get words out, and nothing was connecting. And so someone told me about neurofeedback, and that's when we did neurofeedback for her, and it changed our lives. It changed her life because she was able to verbally kind of connect with us. So there was that disconnection with your brain. And that's one of the reasons why we do podcasts, and we are doing visual right now. So if you're a listener and you need something to watch as well, this is going to be on our YouTube channel. So all the audio and visual component of it, because there's so many people that can learn through audio, but there's those visual people that need to see it to get the understanding of the words. They actually need to see someone speak to understand how it goes into the brain. So yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to share that story because it's interesting to see the differences in children and how they learn.
Mm-hmm. She is extremely verbal, and just talking with her dad and trying to figure out and he relies a lot on me because I'm an educator, but that doesn't mean I know I'm really good at secondary math, but I'm not so good at reading. And it's also one of those fears, right?
Right.
You asked me to read something and I and so I think my confidence through this has also kind of shifted, and my journey with her we're also journeying together, and growth. But the biggest thing was I didn't want Parker. It is such a different, when I went to school, it's such a different world, and the expectation for students to learn and what ages they're supposed to learn them at is so different. And I didn't want, education is so important to me, and I wanted her to have a love. She was starting first grade, she would love to go to school. Then it was, I don't want to go to school. It was a struggle to get her up. She didn't want to go, and she was also having trouble connecting with her peers, because I think she's also got a little bit of the anxiety, right? She's got,
that goes hand in hand. You see children that are struggling with learning, and then they start double thinking things, and then the anxiety kind of revs up, and there's so many kids that don't want to go to school because the anxiety of it all and just pressure of, you never know when you're going to be called in. Is someone going to call on you, and you got to stand in front of the classroom and speak and read something, and then you mentally just break down. So there's a lot of pressure on those kids.
Yeah, and she's very mature for her.
Oh, yes.
And she's also, people, they think I'm lying until they see her, and I know you can attest to this. I mean, my 7-year-old is almost 5 foot.
Oh, yeah.
She just had a birthday. She just had a birthday, and she's growing, and we just did a little mark on her birthday on the 20th, and she is 4'11", like almost 4'12". So
oh my goodness.
Mommy, I'm catching you. And
quickly.
That's my 8-year-old. So she's also taller. She's also very articulate. So people think that she's supposed to be a little more ahead where she's at. And she's still an 8-year-old. She still has tantrums. She's still, especially in 7, she was, having those. So I didn't want her to lose that love for learning. And we have a long way to go, right? And she wants to, when you ask her what she wants to be a high school math teacher. And so, she's got to go to school for that. And we all want, right, our children to do better than what we did.
Yes.
So that's my aspiration for Parker, right? I also want her to do, I love that she wants to be a teacher. And I think because I think teachers that have to struggle a little bit with learning are the best teachers.
I totally hear you. Cora's favorite teacher was a teacher that struggled with her speech. And so they're able to relate, so if a teacher has had, their own problems, they can relate to your children, better, and they can understand it. And, and that's so important that teachers have to, they all of them are starting to make big efforts, to make the school learning different, because our children learn differently, and we're starting to become more aware of that now. And so my sister's a school teacher, and so she was telling me things that she has to do in her classroom, and she's teaching 4th and 5th grade, and so they have the seating arrangements now that are a little different, and you don't just sit in a desk anymore. And so they're starting to open up to the idea, because kids do learn differently, and that's so important that the school evolves and changes for our children.
I think one of my principal years ago, I've always been that teacher that I don't care what you're doing as long as you're quiet and learning.
Right.
So I had a teacher say that I was a hippie, and I was like, I think I am far from being a hippie. But because when you went in my classroom, you could see a kid standing, 10 years ago, when you came in my classroom, you could see a kid standing in the back of a classroom. I would block off space with that would be their square. I've done standing desk 10 years ago.
Awesome.
And so things that people are starting to do now in the last 4 or 5 years, I was like, I've been doing that. But I didn't care. When you came in my classroom, I wanted to truly level the playing field so that everybody can learn. And I think when students, especially in middle school, that's such a age where either they're going to fall off or they're going to be like, oh my God, I love math. So a lot of times when I have a student, I usually persuade them and you know, to feel some success. There is nothing like, you know, everybody wants to feel success, right? School is something that they have to do from the age of 5 to 17, 18. They have to go to school. They can't get around it. So why not make it as easy and as enjoyable as possible? And so when you come in my classroom, that's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you I'm going to meet you where you're at. And that was so important to me, and just trying to find the best way to learn. But I'm not like every teacher. And so I think I have to remember that too for Parker, and not put my expectation that the teacher is always going to meet Parker where she's at, and push her. I don't want to lower, and I think the other thing, so we had Parker, to go back a little bit, we had Parker tested December of her first grade year. So she's just in second grade, so a little more than a year ago. And I mean, she showed all the signs of ADHD, extremely hyper. She stays up all night. Like, she'll just stay in her bed and talk herself to sleep. Like, at 2 years old, my 2-year-old would be in bed. She does, I mean, just laying there, lights out, talking to herself. And it was very interesting, though, because I would hear about the whole day. I knew exactly what she would replay the whole day in her head, so I knew exactly what went on. And sometimes I'd look at the teacher
right. Oh, man.
But, you know, like, she would replay the day out loud, and finally she would go to sleep. Or, you know, having my 3-4-year-old grinding her teeth at night, you know, and she's always been like a worry ward. And just the things that she would ask me as a 3-year-old, I'm like, you're thinking about that? That's bothering you? But yeah, sleep has been, I think, one of the biggest things for us, because both of us, like, I also didn't sleep. I didn't, like, I'm up, like, we're in bed, but I didn't sleep. And magnesium has changed our world.
Love magnesium, yes.
Oh, like, anytime, that is one of the first things that I tell people, like, the supplements, you know, during this time, you know, we haven't been able to have neurofeedback and have, you know, Parker sessions, and we are taking our supplements.
Were you taking supplements before you met us?
We were not. Okay. And like, I had done, so when Parker was diagnosed, of course, you know, and her doctor said, you know, I know you don't like medicine. We don't get flu shots. We don't, depending on the, you know, the other thing too, with that with the supplements is, that you saw also, is her allergies.
Right.
I think that's the biggest surprise too, is that, like, my 18-month-old, they were giving her Claritin and what was Flonase, you know, the one that she had, and I had this, like, and my mom was like, we're not doing that. So we used essential oils, but we weren't using the supplements. And so essential oils do help, but with the combination of the essential oils that we use and the supplements, I mean, like, we have been the healthiest in the last year, because Parker also, you know, she's got a peanut butter allergy. She's got her allergy. Just walk outside. I mean, Parker would just walk outside. She told me, Mommy, I'm allergic to outside.
Right, yeah.
I love being outside, you know, but she sneezed, and, like, I would have to wash and change her pillowcases and wash her hair more than I really would want to, because if we went outside to play, she'd be you know, like,
amazing the whole time. And that's my story. You know, my story is, I was a sick kid, asthma, allergies. And it's so funny, because you'll see when I work with kids, and I've been working with kids over 16 years, allergies, ADHD, anxiety, all the A words, they all are linked together, you know, and we think, oh, as a medical doctor, we diagnose you with ADHD. Okay, here's your diagnosis. here's the pill for this. But you have to look at the whole body. Her immune system obviously was suffering with the allergies, which was affecting her brain, which is affecting those connections. So getting her immune system stronger, like you said, that just brings me joy. That's the biggest thing that brings me joy, is getting kids healthier so they don't need medication for the rest of their life. Because that's, once you get that diagnosis, it doesn't go away. It's like, well, here's your pill for the rest of your life. Good luck with that,
And the side effects for ADHD medicine are...
It's heartbreaking. Yeah, they're very heartbreaking. Yes.
So she started medicine in January. We came to you guys in July. I mean, just from January to July, the outburst. Although she was at school, she was focusing. Like, I just felt like I was at a point what do I do? We changed our diet. We don't eat bad. We don't, we're pretty healthy. She's active. She takes piano lessons. She's plays basketball. She's dancing. So she's active, and you can't tell me the child's not active. And
right.
You gotta keep her active. I'm all the things. Don't eat anything with I'm doing it. Don't eat sugar.
No red 40. Right. Yeah.
Okay. But still, she literally, she's extreme. Everything is either all or nothing for Parker. Her peanut allergy, extreme. She's like in the 2000s. They're all extreme. If she has it, it's extreme.
Right.
Her ADHD is like, she is truly, when they say like a motor, and people would tell me like, oh my God, like they would watch her, or, like they'd come and visit. They'd be like, oh my God, how do you do it? She is on the go all the time. Yes, she is.
Yeah, and her brain, that's one of the reasons why she wasn't able to sleep. It's because her brain would just not shut off, and it was going and going and going. And so that was probably, I don't know what you noticed first with the neurofeedback when you came in. I know when I did the brain map with her, I don't know if you remember me going over, or Dr. Sarah went over the brain map. I was looking at that and I was like, whoa, she was just like the allergy to the peanuts. Yeah. She was way off the chart with the
I do remember you telling me, you were like, yeah, she's definitely like, that was not a misdiagnosis.
That was not a misdiagnosis. It was like way off the chart, an extreme severe case. Yeah. And I was like, wow, this is going to take some time to really focus and getting not just her brain to calm down, but it was just so inflamed. And so, one of the things that you were willing as a parent is to jump in, not just start the neurofeedback, but the supplements that the brain map suggested, and things that we know and research is out there, that things that can help ADHD. And you're like, let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm telling you, like, really honestly, like what did I have to lose? Like, I'll do anything. And another thing is, and I don't know if I told you guys this, that when she started medicine, so she's under her dad's insurance, it was $359 a month.
Wow. Just, and insurance was already paying for the other.
For the other $300.
Oh, goodness.
I was taking that out of my pocket every month.
Every month.
For 3 months.
Wow.
I got a little less. My doctor stayed on the phone with our insurance in her office because she was like, that is ridiculous. But what do? We saw, and her teacher saw, we did see a huge difference when she started taking the medicine.
Right. But
then we also saw side effects. She doesn't eat. She's lost. I mean, and maybe because she was on a little chunkier side, now she's skinny. But then also, she's still growing, so she's not eating. She wasn't eating at all. Mm. So from January to June, she lost 30 pounds. And for a growing 6-year-old, you don't really want them.
Right, the appetite. Did you see any changes with her attitude, like any outburst and anger? And because that's what I hear a lot of parents say is like, yeah, they did great in school and they're able to hold it all together with the med, but as soon as they come home, the med goes off, then their brains get anger, anxiety, all these weird thoughts start coming about. Did you notice that with her?
I did. And she crying, and for her to articulate to me, Mommy, I don't know why I'm crying. She was crying. She was moodier than like even before the medicine, she was moody, right? Mm-hmm. And would have some outbursts, but partly because she was tired, simply just because she was tired.
Yeah, not sleeping.
and not sleeping, and then and just her her brain going and trying to intake all that stuff. But she was either mean, either she was very angry. But then we would have these conversations like, "Mommy, I don't want to be mean to my friends," and "Mommy, I was mean to my friend today." And
so she was starting to be aware and kind of notice.
Parker's very aware of her surroundings and herself, which is great. I think, for her, I think it's very important for us to be able to, for her to be aware, because it's helped us through this process. She can say, I'm like, "Parker, is it helping?" And she's like, "Yeah." And for her to say, I didn't say anything to her about it. She was like, "When am I going back?"
Right. She's starting to notice. Yeah. So she started in July of last year, correct? Yeah. And then how long did it take for you to kind of start picking up some changes, or did she let you know first? Or sometimes with neurofeedback, the kids notice, and then sometimes the parents notice first. So what did you guys
notice first?
You noticed first?
I noticed first. And what I noticed first is she wasn't as hyper.
Just more calm.
And I would say maybe the first 2 or 3 weeks, and I said, "Dr. Sarah, am I supposed to be noticing?" She said, "You might." And she said, "It will shift, right? We've been in and out." But I think also with the combination of the supplement, taking those supplements, I think the biggest, that sleep, right?
Right.
The biggest piece is that sleep and her attitude, and not,
when did she start sleeping?
I would say within the first week.
Awesome.
So even before we hadn't had a brain session yet, and we started the supplements, because you were like, "You need to get her on this and this."
Right.
So
you're not leaving until you buy these 2 things right now.
So we started out with magnesium and fish oil. And then you added
did I add anything for her allergies?
We added zinc.
It's probably zinc for her allergies.
Yeah, and so we added zinc, but we didn't add zinc until I think after her brain map. Like when you were able to, I think you initially saw, I think that's what, so the very first time we went into the office, I didn't leave without magnesium and fish oil. I guess whatever you guys saw. And then our consultation of the brain map and what all the numbers meant, then we got zinc.
Awesome. And that's not a lot, looking at $350 a month. I mean, magnesium, even if you start right now and you're a listener and you're like, "Oh my goodness, I have a kid right now that I can't control and I'm supposed to be homeschooling." No.
Yeah.
How many parents right now are homeschooling?
Magnesium.
Get some magnesium. So that's awesome. Just that tip alone is going to be very, very encouraging to these parents that are suffering right now, that are trying to homeschool their ADHD kids and not getting therapies. They're not able to get school, and they're not able to get therapies properly. And so it's been a hard past couple months trying to help your kids. And still, if you're still working, you're still working, aren't you? Still educating?
I am. I'm still working. Yes.
Yeah, and then you're trying to work, and then you have Parker at home, and you can't come in to get neurofeedback. So good thing we got the magnesium going on in the fish oil. And so that magnesium is a calming agent. And even for asthma and allergies, magnesium was one thing that I would take when I would have an asthma attack. So when I would get anxiety and I couldn't breathe and the asthma would start coming in, I would just take a scoop. I don't know if you're doing the powder or the pill, but
so we started out with the powder, and I can tell. So I took it along with her. Once I saw what it was doing to her, I was like, oh, okay. And then I started reading. I, got them and took them home. And I always, whatever, you all tell me to get, I would go home and then research it. Like, I get it because I trust you. And then I'd be like, oh my goodness. So I take everything except with Parker, except for her. She takes the DHIST
Yeah, for her allergies.
Yeah, Dr. Sarah was like, March, and she's in there and she sneezed all over her.
She was like, oh man, we're trying to clean this down. She's sneezing all over it. So we might want to add, it was tough. March and April was a really tough year with allergies. So natural dehyst is great.
Yes. And so we take that. And
there's different types of magnesium out there. I'm sure as you were researching, we just say magnesium, but what type? There's like 3 or 4 different types, and how do you get it? How do you trust the product that you're getting that's working properly? So we've been working with Orthomolecular, which is a great company, and they have reactive magnesium, which is different types of magnesium in there and how it reacts to the brain and how it can react to other things. So it is important to know what type of magnesium.
Yes,
but that one, I would take the powder and immediately, like within, I'd say 15, 20 minutes of me having trouble breathing, it would automatically calm my bronchioles down and my lungs would open up and I'd be able to take a deep breath and not have to rush to the hospital. So that was something I learned years back, to not need a steroid shot again or get back on my nebulizer. Magnesium was the key ingredient because it's a calming agent. So, and how many of us need to be a little bit calmer these days?
Everybody. I will say, the powder is, like you said, is much more instant than Parker doesn't like drinking it. She just wants it instant. So she takes the pills.
Yeah. So the pills work just as good, but
I feel like I got a little bit, I think it's a little quicker with the powder. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's all
it does absorb faster when you do the powder, but I know kids with ADHD and they're sensitive, right? You said they're hypersensitive and they're very sensitive to taste and texture. So, some kids respond well with the drink and then some are like, oh, that's disgusting. I'm never going to drink that. And so then we have to, I'm like, if you can swallow a pill, let's get it in that way. It may take a little bit longer to activate, but it's still going to activate just as good. But the powder you do notice right away. So it just depends on how quickly you need it to react. And for me, I needed it. If I'm having an asthma attack, I want it to react right away. But as your body gets stronger and you're able to function better, taking a pill is just as good because it'll get absorbed. And if you're using it for sleep, it works well.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you would like to share to our listeners right now that you wish they would know and the steps they should take to help their children with ADHD?
So neurofeedback, because we haven't talked a whole lot about that, but I will say, over the course of the year, and I'm not, don't know exactly how to describe it, but Parker's point, she was all red. We talked about Parker being extreme, right? And now she's in the normal for as far as ADHD.
Right.
And so we had done all our sessions, 10 sessions for ADHD. So that by itself is a blessing and has been amazing, right? That she went from, just in 10 sessions, that she went from being extreme, right, and in the normal range, which I can't explain to people. And then Parker's feeling, and Parker's being able to just simple task, to stay focused on that simple task. And she wants it, right? Not only do we want it, but she wants it. And for her to be able to be like, okay, I can focus. Just do it, and to be able to actually talk through that too,
Well, we're electrical systems, the way our brain functions, and it can get wired off, somehow. And like you said, the genes are strong. There could be some genetic component to it. It could be other things that are involving her brain to function that way. So, to be able to have a device now to see the function of people's brains and be able to redirect it in a positive way by just listening and sound, that can be, it's just really neat how it can do. I can't even really, as much training as I had in it, it's hard for me to even explain it. And so, but we actually see the pathways with the neurological component of it, and to be able to clear those pathways where they were blocked with inflammation. And so doing, breaking that communication pathway and getting that neurological component to interact is how we know to retrain the brain. And it's like learning, I tell people it's like learning how to ride a bike. Once you, at the beginning, it's really hard and trying to make those changes. And then once you get it, you just know how to get on a bike and ride it. And so we're relearning that pathway where she was trained wrong, while being just so hyperactive. It's like, oh, I can enter this part of the brain and calm down. Whoa, this is a new component of the brain I never really experienced. Yeah. So that's where we're kind of redirecting that area and building up that area of the brain so it could be stronger. And it's a foundation that's going to sit with her for life. And so things that you're doing now, it's not just taking a pill and covering up the symptoms. It's like really correcting the problem so that long term that she'll be able to grow with a more balanced brain.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is, like I tell people when they ask, like, what is that? Because every time I tell somebody about it, because I'm so excited, you just want to share. So anytime, and like, especially at school, and I'm like, talking to parents, and I was like, you might want to try. Like, I'm teaching you. I know your kid. Have you thought about? Have you looked into? Because it's been a life changer for me. And they're like, and it's almost like I think your brain's a muscle. So, and I think you said this to me too. It's like, just like you go work out, it's like a workout for the brain. And so that's
it makes you tired. I don't know, after Parker sessions, you're like, I'm ready to go take a nap. My brain just ran a marathon.
Yeah.
So
that was nice too, to have her want to come home and just eat dinner and go to bed.
Like, I worked out. Yeah, I worked my brain out for sure. Yeah. That's really cool. And, one of my visions for the school, and I've been trying, it's hard, as you know, working with government and stuff, but my ideal would be able to go into the school system and to allow every child that, as a teacher that is struggling, get a brain map done. Let us come in, be able to get a brain map done, talk with the parents, do neurofeedback in the school.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I know, right? That's like, when I got this, I was like, why is this not available in the school system? How great, what kind of therapy would be to allow that therapy to be able to be in a school system, so they don't have to come into an office. They can go at the school and have that 30-minute training if that child needs that. How wonderful would that be? And so
I think whatever we got to do, I will be your spokesperson. I have, Parker, and even, I'd tell Parker, like, what do you think, Parker? And Parker tells them, they're like, oh, okay. She's the one. I don't know what it feels like. I haven't had it done, but she does. She can tell you the pros and cons. And for a 7-year-old ADHD, that 8-year-old to tell you how she feels about it, I think it's very powerful too.
Definitely powerful. Yeah. So I've been trying to work with my sister. In fact, just this past year, we were able to create a club, and I was going in until all of this came about, but I was going in once a month, and the parents that agreed to have their children to have ideas for health. So we were discussing, natural eating. We were doing blenders with smoothies. We were talking about supplements, neurofeedback, all these things was in this club that I was able to do because it was an outside of the school kind of thing, And so I was like, well, let's get our doors in that. Let's start there, educate more people about what we can do to help these children instead of just popping this pill, because, that's not a solution, and what things we can do as teachers. And so my sister was like, let's do it. So, everything that we can do to get this message out there. And this is a perfect way to start with this podcast. I appreciate you, sharing your story, getting it out there, and letting more people know, because the more that people hear this, then they'll be willing to try it. And then we can move steps in order to get it maybe in the school system one day.
Yes. Well, I definitely, if you would like to, I'm at a charter school, and, charter schools are a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's great. What charter school are you at?
I'm at Charlotte Lab School.
Okay,
so it's
awesome.
A school downtown. We're in Center City. And they're very innovative. So if you would like, and I've told them, so they know, I've told our director of support services. And so
Yeah, I think the more research that comes out, and neurofeedback's been out for 30 years, and a lot of people are like, what? It's been out that long? I'm like, yes, it's been out there. Just like chiropractic, we've been out since 1995, but there's so many people that don't know about chiropractors. It's just a small little population that goes more and searches and looks online and finds the natural alternatives, but that's growing. And so we are trying to make that stand and have other alternatives for these children, because the children aren't going to speak up. We have to speak up for them.
Right. We have to advocate for them.
Right. And we don't have big pharmaceutical companies spending tons of money doing research. And that's what's hard, is because these pharmaceutical companies have billions of dollars to spend on research and marketing and blowing in your face every day. Or we don't have those funds, so trying to create that and trying to get that more awareness out there is so important. Is there anything else you think the listeners would love to hear your story, and what else you have on your mind?
No, just do your research. I think, just that, like I said, supplements, just being healthy, like you just feel so much better. And like I said, this is the healthiest, and we're pretty healthy, but we have not had any sickness. This winter, we went through the winter and neither one of us got a cold. Right. Like I said, my daughter was allergic to the outside. If it came in her classroom, every time they said the flu was at her school, or in her classroom, I was like, oh, but this year we haven't had that. So just her feeling good, her being able to sleep, her being able to learn, her being able to focus and read, just like being at home, I've truly seen, you can see the data, right? I saw the data of where she went in to second grade, and where she is now. Her teacher is even impressed, how much she's grown this year. And I can see how, she's more comfortable reading. Does she still like to do it? No, she would much rather go do math.
Right, of course.
But that's easy, right? Math is quick, and she's good at math. But reading is, we're reading this, and your child might be reading chapter books. My child wasn't. My child still struggles with reading. And then also Dr. Sarah, talking to Dr. Sarah about schooling, and after she had her second math verse to see how she progressed, I said, I'm so worried about, her going into third grade. And for Dr. Sarah to say to me, she's going to be fine. That makes the staff at Upper Cervical too has, we miss Miss Maria at the front desk, and we miss Dr. Sarah, and Parker does too. So just feeling so welcome for, my daughter has anxiety, and for her to be okay, comfortable enough within the first couple times. They're so welcoming. They knew as soon as we opened the door, just the whole experience it makes you come back too.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that, because we try so hard to have that welcome. I just had a patient this week, with the stress of the coronavirus and all of this going on, and everybody's having this anxiety, and she was able to come to the office and she's like, oh, I just feel so much peace here. Yeah. And so that's what we try to implement, and having the essential oils. I don't know if you've been using some just in your house, but that brings a lot of comfort and peace, and the aromatherapy. So we have that going on as people enter in and try to have that smile and encouragement, because you don't get it out there, right? If you watch the news, watch other things, you're not getting a lot of encouragement these days. So this is why we have the No More Meds podcast, to bring you guys enlightenment and encouragement and positive healing thoughts to you guys. So I appreciate you so much for bringing and taking that step. You as a mom, you got to fight for our kids, and for you to take that step and listen to someone referring over to our office, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I remember the day, I think you were on a webinar. I think I did a webinar that you did.
That's how Miss Jackie, my daughter's owns the dance studio that my daughter goes to. She referred us to, I was just telling her, and she had seen a change in Parker too. And we were just talking, and she was like, I've been going, you might want to, and it just happened. So that same like week or two that she had told me about it, you had on Facebook had a webinar, and she was like, "You got to go," and I was like, "Yes, I do."
I had the webinar for you. You know that, right? Yeah. So I had the webinar for you. You were able to be on the webinar to listen. It spoke to your heart. You knew it was the right thing to do. God had you at the right time to make the changes for her, and just to be able to have that the last 6 months, or working with her and just seeing the difference. And Parker, I love that picture that we're going to share of you and Parker. She is a joy, and that big old smile on her face. I just love
that's her all the time, most of the time, unless she's hungry. But yes, yes.
And the difference she's going to make in this world because of steps that you did for her, and that she feels confidence now to share that smile, because I just love her. She's a joy. So I appreciate it, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the No More Meds podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share your favorite episodes with your family and friends, or at least leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher. The content and opinions expressed are those of the host and presenters. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. Product statements have not been evaluated by the FDA.